Well, they've got good stamps then. They really do. They don't make stamps.
All right.
May I sit back here by Bill?
By the way, I already knew you felt it.
Oh, that, what was your first clue?
Would you like a piece of paper?
I didn't think we could never done that.
Just celebrating Mr. Bunker's birthday, chocolate or anything else?
You never know. It doesn't matter.
How about your wife?
Yes, it matters, Dad.
Doesn't matter if you-
Probably needed some. Since
Yeah.
it's back in the middle.
Oh, it is.
Right.
Does he want to? Is this part of
What?
public comment?
I don't know, they were submitted to us. We probably got for you.
We can ask him. Because correspondence comes up before.
Wow.
Mr. Cleveland,
I haven't thought of it in a couple of days.
would you like these?
The oldest
For you as
male
correspondent, or
employee.
would you like to read them and?
So he was there when they took her, you know, we have the dash, right? Charter membership. Apparently.
Go last.
Let's
Let's try to make it not bad.
You would like to
Perfect.
present some public comment, that's one and two. This would, these were courtesy copies. And for the
Wait 5
minutes.
Right,
as long as it's under 5 minutes.
That's the only requirement.
That is true.
You only got 3 minutes.
Five.
5 minutes.
5.
Maybe for, so we can.
Yes, I did. I can say that now. I don't care.
You gotta take the wood out of the hallway, so we get down to the point.
Yeah, it does. That's
You're 78.
When you get to be 78, it does seem like you're right. Yeah.
I found time is going by much to see. Okay, now.
Unless you didn't council meeting, in which case it's just great.
And then it's absolutely. And then we're going to. I'm going.
Yeah.
It's here. Over the last 10 years, plus being substitute clerk, I can. You don't have to read these ones. Talk about.
Yeah, he's gonna.
No. Well, you could probably punch through it pretty easy. It becomes difficult. Yeah. We looked
I'm going.
Everything's working out. We're just waiting for stuff to come in. The bank stuff. Or city.
So far, low cost. But then says. Actually, it's called 40%.
I just recently saw.
Anybody else need an agenda? Everybody has? Oh, good.
They're set, but I don't think they're insurance.
I know, it looked pretty.
They did not give me a clean version.
At some point, we'll start making it. Right. It's like, we'll start making it.
Yeah, I saw that.
You got to read it.
See, that was a big deal.
From all.
All right, call this meeting to order. Please rise, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Thompson, sorry. Mrs. Thompson.
Here.
Mrs. Moore. Here. Mr. Gray.
Here.
Mr. Bittner,
Here.
Miss Wong. Here. Mr. Lunder.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of council, January 9th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Moore, seconded by Mr. Bittner. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson.
Aye.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Miss Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Correspondence, clerk, is there any correspondence this evening?
No.
Does any member of council have correspondence this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to administrative and department head reports. Mayor and Safety Director, Mr. Eva, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson, members of council, the public here this evening. I sent to council from Mr. Summers the economic impact analysis information. I'm gonna let Mr. Summers present this to the council. If there's any questions on that. Great.
Good evening. I need to introduce myself every time, or?
You could.
Okay. I didn't know. Greg Summers, Summers Development Group. As the mayor indicated, I shared with, all of you an economic impact statement that we prepared showing the property tax revenue and projected income tax that the Cranes Landing development will generate over a given period of time. The income tax projections, we basically work with our firm PMC, and they base it upon their best estimate. You know, the fact that we're gonna be putting $300,000 residences there. I know that not everybody works in the city, but there are work from home people, there are retired people that will still have income in the city, and that was their best projection based upon the metrics that they use to estimate income tax. So that's where that figure came from. And like I said, we also summarized the annual property tax income, and they're meaningful figures, so I'm open to any questions that council has.
A member of council have questions on this?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. The 2024 appropriations, I should have this to council by Tuesday, February 6th. If we want to schedule a meeting, then sometime after February 6th to go over the appropriations. There is a Parks and Recreation, we have an opening on the Parks and Recreation Board. Please send, the volunteer information and a letter of interest to us. At the, near the end of 2023, I had mentioned to council the opportunity to redesign the website. I don't know if there, 7 of you would still be interested in that. I do have a contact, which is Blackbird Digital, is the name of the company. They've done Concord and I believe Willoughby's website. the quote that I got, and this is just for the discovery phase, so somebody to just look at, you know, what we want to do and things like that. Discovery phase from Blackbird, would cost around $2,300. A couple other things, which could be a new business. I did talk to, Chief Forsythe about this today, the possibility, and this may have been discussed by council before, of eliminating Airbnbs for short-term rentals in the city. And some of the other things that we've been looking at from the administration and the rental inspection ordinance. If we can look into that, and then also the point of sale inspections. And I can give you more details and we can talk about that in business. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Law Director, Mr. Lyons, good evening.
Good evening. Happy birthday, Mr. Butler. Thank you. Sorry, I missed the big deal party. But that, other than that, I had no.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for the administration? Hearing none, we'll move on to board committee commission reports, council of the whole.
Council of the whole met on January 16th at 6 p.m. Present were all of council, Mayor Eva and the Summers Group and a few residents. Purpose of this meeting was to review the proposal of Cranes Landing PUD. We spoke about extra fire hydrants that would be needed on the property. Color and design of homes was discussed. Summers Group stated that they have plenty of time to adjust or change colors as needed. Square footage of homes was also discussed, and it does meet our current ordinance code. Also, the height of the homes is not a concern, as that is within code as well. We talked about that council should take a hard look at this request, possibly holding off on rezoning to see if this is the correct vision that we want for our city. Some of the other members of council stated they feel that we need this for our community. These types of homes are in high demand, lack of previous interest on this property for many years. Another council member had stated that this has been an ongoing process for 3 years, and they feel that this is a better option than a high-rise complex. We've seen many changes in the city, except for this one piece of property. Our current HOA associations that we have in the city are fully taken and filled up at this time. They do not want to see other businesses in the city, as we cannot support the local businesses we currently have and ones that we have already lost. The property has not changed in over 50 years, and that's the owner's responsibility for that in its current state as it sits right now. Our meeting adjourned at 6:44 p.m.
Are there any other committees or commissions that have met since the last meeting? Hearing none, we will move on to open to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record. Again, this is not a back and forth with council. This is your opportunity to speak to council.
Good evening, I'm Bill Cleveland, Salida. I distributed a little while ago a letter to the mayor and city council concerning selection and engineering for the city. I'd like to read that letter now. An issue which you may want to consider is the process for selection of the city engineering firm. CT Consultants has been our choice for decades, and it is difficult to determine what effort was made to evaluate whether or not they're the best choice to serve the needs of our city. Best practice, as well as common sense, would suggest that occasionally request proposals called RFPs from other engineering companies in our area, so we can compare their offerings. Some of our neighboring cities, including Perry and Kirtland, have recently implemented this practice, resulting in a change of supplier. The current project to restore functionality to our Menor Overlook Beach Park highlights the possibility that we could benefit from evaluating other engineering companies. On my own, and not claiming any representation for Mentor on the lake, I have obtained estimates from two of the preeminent companies who do revetment work on Lake Erie. Both of these companies have done extensive work in Lake County, including in Mentor on the lake. Both estimates, which include Armstrong embankments as well as lake access, were far below the current estimate from CT Consulting. This difference may suggest that there is an economic advantage possible by considering alternatives for the city engineer, as well as alternative estimates for the project. We, the taxpayers, deserve some transparency of the selection process to know our representatives have made the effort to assure we are getting the best value for our tax dollars. If competitive proposals were not obtained, and I don't know if they were or not, I suggest that council not approve this contract until such a process is undertaken. If helpful, I would be happy to supply contact information for engineering companies who service other cities in our immediate area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Scott Wilhelm, 7573 Salida. Just as a follow-up to Mr. Quigley's statement, I think long-term relationships with companies like CT Consultants breed a couple of things that are quite good. They breed comfort, they breed long-term partnerships, which allow for easy flow of dialogue and contract information back and forth between our city and their firm. One other thing that sometimes though that long-term relationships also breed, and I'll take this outside of the context of marriage, would be the fact that in some ways, sometimes we also become complacent. And we may not look at other opportunities, we may not look at other advantages and or disadvantages of obtaining potential other contracts or looking at other firms. So I would just have a statement that I think it is always worthwhile to look at competition. It may breed new ideas, it may allow us better economic advantages. And it may also lead us back to the fact that CT Consultants, who we've been with for a long time, may be the best company for our city, but those are just things I think are important to consider. Thank you.
Here. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will close this portion and open to the public to speak. Legislation for council, resolution number 2024-R-01, if you please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2024-R-01, a resolution confirming the reappointment of James M. Lyon as Law Director and Assistant City Prosecutor, affirming his contract, determining compensation, and declaring an emergency.
Any discussion on this? Any motions on this?
Motion for suspension.
Motion to suspend by Mrs. Moore. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Lunder. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Yeah, I.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Also for passage.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lunder, seconded by Ms. Wong for passage. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Resolution number 2024-R-02, please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2024-R-02, a resolution confirming the appointment of Joseph M. Gurley as City Prosecutor and Assistant Law Director, affirming his contract, determining compensation, and declaring an emergency.
Discussion on this one. Is there any motion on this one?
Motion for suspension.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lunder for suspension of the rules, seconded by Mrs. Moore. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
For passage.
Motion made by Mr. Lunder, seconded by Mr. Gray for passage. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Resolution number 2024-R-03, if you could please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2024-R-03, a resolution confirming the appointment of CT Consultants Incorporated as city engineer, affirming their contract, establishing their compensation, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Mrs. Thompson.
So on, section 2, paragraph A. Cost of officers for the designated city engineer should not exceed $60, but it says 70 in parentheses. And then there's another instance on page 5, retainer fee. It says $550. I mean, it looks, yeah, that it's stricken out, but it just looks like 55,000.
I have a question. If you're done.
But yeah,
Good.
I don't have a complete copy of the contract. We just got that, about 25 minutes ago. But the part that I was able to review, I'm asking for clarification on the exclusivity clause. Whether this clause, although I understand it intends to guarantee the use and payment of CT, the vendor, for the engineering services. Does this clause specifically prevent us from obtaining an additional opinion or paying for an additional opinion so long as we have used our contracted vendor according to the terms of the contract?
That'd be a question for Mr. Lyons.
Well, I didn't know the answer to that. It would not prevent us from getting a second. It would prevent us as written from using the person who gave us the second bid to hire that. Civics.
Okay.
and you have one.
I have more things I can say if anybody needs to hear.
You go right
I'm
ahead.
interested.
So, there's in terms of the request for proposal. Under Ohio law, for construction projects, engineering fees can be over 25,000. At times over 50,000. Unless it's an emergency, and there's some other minor exceptions. You know, with design work. You're supposed to do request for proposals, that's what the state law is. But we're a charter community. In our charter, we have some specific 604, where we have to have a city engineer. The city engineer can be a person in many cities, such as Benner, they actually have a person. Hazel has. But those are usually full-time positions. We have used CT consultants. It's 40 years, or some incredibly long period of time, rather long, 40 years of time. And what the charter in 1604 says that the charter establishes the office of engineer appointed by the mayor annually with the approval of the majority of council. They shall serve on a contract basis. This contract is pretty much the standard contract that they've used for years. He shall provide the municipality with the physical inspection services as the mayor and council shall direct. So this contract is consistent charter, that we now have a city engineer. The request for proposals, I don't know how many other communities have a specific charter. But I think that charter language overrides the state law where we have to get specific request for proposals. And when the fees are going to be over a certain amount. I haven't seen any case law that says that. This engineering request for proposal in the law relatively new. I don't think it's been challenged. I can tell you that it's hard to find an engineering firm, at least from what I've seen, that's willing, to do the day-to-day stuff, and not just the big project. Somebody that's on call, okay, the way they are. And I know, I'm not being a cheerleader for CD, but I know that, they represent Willoughby and, other communities in Lake County. I know Mr. Cleveland and much doesn't think highly of them evidently. But they have been available to men around the lake and other communities on a day-to-day, year-to-year, week-to-week basis, long period of time. The exclusivity thing is something that you don't like. I mean, you could talk to the mayor, to see, but I don't know if CT would agree with it. I've always heard Jim Sales, who used to sit there here for a long time after Frank Federico was here, always indicated to me that they lost money on monthly retainer. But they did make some money on this, when they would get projects in the city, whether it was road projects, sewer projects. Terms of the contract are something that the mayor negotiates, but the whole package is. Since we have what appears to be a very involved, active charter review commission, the charter review commission wants to visit that particular charter provision in order to make it something different, so that in order to hire, whether it's an engineer or a law director, on a request for proposal basis for a certain number of years, they could consider that. Right. In terms of Desiree's question, the cross out is that there's an increase of $65 to now $70. And that other is an increase in their monthly retainer. 500, I think, 550. I think that's what the answer goes.
And I had one more too. In that same section, A, it says that it is agreed and understood that the parties for that purpose of this agreement, payroll costs shall be actual salary plus 50% for items such as insurance, sick leave, vacation, and workman's comp, and social security, and incentive pay.
So, payroll costs, because I thought this is just, if they do work for us, if we pay them, for their payroll costs, plus there used to be a multiplier. And that multiplier took into account all of their costs for administrative staff, for their building, for their insurance, for the tax that they pay. And 50% there, I think, is what their estimate is of that those extra costs, over and above just the straight $50 an hour, or $80 an hour that they're charging, each unit, each person unit that they do.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Just to consider, I don't know what folks are thinking in terms of the timeline of how soon this legislation is needed. if it's possible, I would like to see a clean, complete copy and have some time to review before the vote's taken.
Anyone else?
I would like to be able to review all.
Did we get a clean copy without the editing submitted to us for review? Okay, this will go on a second reading. Okay, resolution number 2024-R-04. I will read it by its title. A resolution confirming the appointment of Taylor Connor as clerk of council and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lunder, second by Ms. Wong for suspension of the rules. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson,
Okay, hold on. So we can confirm her tonight, but we will wait to appoint her. We can appoint her tonight, but she will not be sworn in until after she has passed the last hurdles that are there. So we can go ahead and confirm. Okay, roll call on suspension, please.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
By Mr. Lunder, seconded by Mr. Bittner for passage. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson.
Aye.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Welcome you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Resolution number 2023-R-33, if you could please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2023-R-33, third reading, assigned to Council of the Whole. A resolution granting preliminary approval to the planned unit development, PUD, that is provided for in chapter 1255 of the codified resolutions for the property described as permanent parcel numbers 19-A-B-00-015-0, 19A-093-B-000-160, 19A-093-B-000-170, 19A-093-B-000-180, 19A-093-B-000-190, 19A-093-B-000-200, 19A-093-B-000-210, and 19A-093-B-000-750.
Okay, this has been returned for the committee of the whole. Is there any discussion on this point?
This is to realign the 8 properties to 1, right?
This is to approve the preliminary plan of the townhomes. Any other questions on that? All right. This will stay on until after the public hearing for the ordinance number 2023-0-25. If you could please read it by its title.
Ordinance number 2023-0-25, third reading, referred to planning and zoning. An ordinance rezoning permanent parcel numbers 19A-093-B-000-150, 19A-093-B-000-160, 19A-093-B-000-170, 19A 093B 0000180, 19A 093B 0000190, 19A 093B 0000200, 19A 093B 0000210, and 19A 093B 0000750 from Business District 1 and or Single Family District E to the zoning classification of a planned unit development, PUD, that is provided for in chapter 1255 of the codified ordinances.
All right, we have a public hearing scheduled for Tuesday, February 2024 at 7 PM on this one. Is there any discussion on this time? Hearing none, we'll save it all for then. All right, old business. Is there any old business tonight? We want to sign the council rules. Okay, new business. The mayor had some new business regarding rentals.
For the rental inspection ordinance, 2023-0-06. The way this reads is just, in exterior inspection, so just the exterior of rental units. And just discussing it with the staff, it just seems like, and I'll just say this, a money grab on our part to do this. To inspect the exterior of a rental unit. When we have a service department that goes around and looks, at least once or twice a week at what's out there. So that's one thing. And then, chapter 1464-04, point of sale inspections. With this, we're charging a point of sale inspection fee for condominiums. So if I'm in Monterey Bay, if I'm in Harbor Creek, if I'm in Windsor Place, not necessarily Windsor Place, but Monterey Bay, Harbor Creek, I'm going to look at the exterior of those condominiums and then charge them a fee also. That to me falls in the same category as the exterior rental inspection. Couple things to look at, and then we had, and this came from a member of our police department, about the eliminating the Airbnbs for short-term rentals. We're aware of one on Larkspur, and I guess within the last couple weeks, it was rented. There were numerous cars all over the street parked, and it seemed to cause a commotion. And, with these, these people could be there a day, they could be there a weekend, who knows? But we maybe need to look at, putting a duration on that, should it be longer than a week? Should these short-term rentals, is there, a time period we could put on these? That's what I think for business.
Okay, so with great pleasure that I submit all three of those to the ordinance committee. Congratulations.
Yes. Very good.
Any other new business tonight? Hearing none, we'll open this economic development transfer form, Trex from Joe Schiller. Would you like to tell us about that? There,
First of all, is Mr. Schiller here?
Oh, yes.
okay,
Maybe he can
yeah,
tell
he's
you.
here, great.
Okay,
Sure. You can go up to the lectern and
What we were proposing was transferring or Trexie liquor permit into the old Oasis that closed, up on Munson Road. And, obviously operating as a food service business. We used to have a business called Pacers Ribs. Unfortunately, the pandemic, it's too big of a location. So we want something smaller. And we think this could really work, with the ribs, the burger and stuff like that. It's a very small location, about, seems like 15 or so people. But also if we have the extra revenue from the liquor, we have the license, that we had at Pacers. And we'd like to try to transfer it. That's what we're proposing.
Okay,
I can maybe help a little.
sure.
I think. Janelle can help a little. There, evidently, the city of Mentor Lake, all of the liquor licenses are current taken. But there's a procedure, this Ohio liquor law, that allows a liquor license from outside of our community to be moved into our community if the person who wants to move in is able to secure it from somebody in a different county. It all has to be approved by, the Liquor Control Commission. But before it can be approved by the Liquor Control Commission, it has to be presented by the council, and council has to determine if they want to have another liquor license in the city. And they're allowed to approve an additional liquor license being transmitted from another city. If they determine, that this is for economic development purposes, and it meets the city's goals of economic development. The term of economic development is it's not a hard definition, okay, under these transfer permits, is what the city believes is economic development. And there's factors that are part of the license that you can look at to determine whether or not it's economic development, which would be the property tax generated, the multi-tax, the amount invested, number of jobs that would be created. And that information is supplied not only to us, but also to the state, because the state also has to make their own independent determination of whether or not this constitutes economic development. I think they pretty much defer to the local government entities. But if the city wants this, then they could pass a motion authorizing, the mayor, to sign this, saying that they approve it, it's passed by council, because it has to be passed by council. Or it could be signed by the president. I'm familiar with one of these Trexes coming in. It came from Southern Ohio, and it came to the village of Fairport Harbor to the creamery, okay, on the corner of High Street and Second Street, which is soon to have a mini golf course there also. And they serve boozy ice cream products along with regular. It's been a significant investment in Fairport, and so they approved it. That's the only other one person. You may know more than I
We
do.
did one in Mentor, actually, for Pacers, and that business sold, we had a partner, or they used to sell it to someone else, and eventually they moved it to another location because they shut it down.
But once this comes in, if Mr. Shalero sells his business to somebody else, that liquor license stays there, doesn't
Right.
evaporate.
Right, now we'll say that.
Can you give us a little more idea of your business, what it's going to be? I mean, you said it's gonna be a lot like Pacers, is that what you're foreseeing, or?
Yeah, because we have a really good recipe for the ribs. It just would be a smaller, easier to manage location. The problem was getting help at the bigger location we had, and we couldn't get people to call them off. You'd have people coming from behind the bar and when we used to do it, in a full big kitchen. They would need to try to keep up and they just couldn't. And this sort of thing down. So yeah, it'd be pretty much the same concept, just on a much smaller scale.
And what kind of alcohol are you planning on selling? Is it just beer and wine, or are you?
Beer, wine, liquor, I don't even want people to get shots. you know, there shouldn't be the experience that was that might. So it's not really so much to get on, to be a restaurant, it adds.
Questions from council?
Hours of operation?
That honestly would be at lunchtime until, some nights close at 11 or 12, possibly on weekends, they open later in the late night. You know, what resources to go to them. That we have. Okay.
Would it be 7 days a week?
Possibly maybe closed on Sunday, it just depends how quickly we get the staff. It's that nature, not long, so.
Will there be a separate bar area or will the liquor service be confined to the restaurant?
No,
Table service?
it'll all be in the same area, because it's only 360 square feet. So it's all gonna be pretty fine in one spot.
Other questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, is it more of a restaurant concept or more of a bar concept?
It's more of a restaurant concept, just a very small,
Small scale
yeah,
restaurant?
very small.
And take that.
Yeah, we are all pushing to take that, we always take that.
I thought I saw take out somewhere.
Yeah, we all that.
So, how many employees do you have this?
Between 8 to 10, between, you know, the family, part-time slash waitress, you know, and then a couple
How about occupancy in there? How many tables?
I mean, I would have. Like I said, looking very good.
Thank you.
Does the mayor want to speak on this at all?
I'm all for new businesses and, I wish you well. I think you have a good product. I've been at Pacers. You said you have a good recipe. I know you have a good recipe. I'm all for it.
Anyone else? There a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the truck transfer of the liquor license.
Motion made by Ms. Wong, second by Mr. Bittner for approval. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson.
Aye.
Mrs. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, we will now, unless there's any other new business, is there any other new business? Okay, we'll move on to open to the public to speak. Again, if you'd like to speak, come to the lectern and state your name and address for the record.
Bill Cleveland, Salida Road. I'd like to read a letter that I wrote to council, but before that, if I may, I'd like to just, add something to Mr. Lyons' comment about maybe it isn't that easy to find alternate engineering companies would be interested in their business. I spoke with Kevin Potter there currently, and they recently went through an RFP process. They thought in that 10 years or so, maybe they should see what's out there, who was interested. So they inquired, and there were quite a few interested companies. 5 of them submitted proposals. One of them being CT Consultants. And they were reviewed by the mayor and city council, and they made a change. CT had been their engineering company, and Kirkland chose another company that they thought would serve their needs better. They had no trouble at all finding engineering companies that were qualified, that were certified, that were interested in the business. Okay, a letter to city council, dear members of city council. There's a current issue I'd like to present for your consideration before prohibitive action is taken by our government. This is the PUD and its application to the potential development of the Green property. First, the quote unquote PUD is not really a planned urban development document, because our city has no official plan against which this PUD can be relevant. The current effort to change zoning for the Crane property is simply that, a request for zoning change. This proposed change is not part of the master urban plan and only benefits the developer and the builder. Allowing the zoning change for building more high-density housing in our city, which already has more than its fair share of high-density housing, will undo all the hard work previously done by the mayor and the city council to manage property development in the city and restore balance to the distribution of housing types. There's no benefit to the taxpaying citizens of Mentor-on-the-Lake by allowing this or any other housing development. After 2 years of meeting and deliberations, it is abundantly clear that the majority of concerned citizens who make the effort to participate and be heard do not want this PUD or its application, the condo development on the Crane property. Maybe this is time when we should all remember that our city leaders are elected to represent the wishes of their constituents, even if the officials have a different opinion. Furthermore, since we are now engaged in developing a master plan for our city, excuse me, maybe we should postpone making zoning changes so we can make sure such changes are consistent with our plan. Having said that, the Summers development is not necessarily a bad thing, but since we don't have a plan and we don't know what the alternatives are or what the vision for the city is at this point, I think committing the last highly desirable piece of property in the city for something that the public has resoundingly renounced might be a mistake. Perhaps postponing till we get a plan in place, which hopefully will be soon, if we move forward. I suggest that we consider waiting to change zoning for that or any other property till we have a plan in place. Thank you.
Boy, it feels funny looking at you from this side of it. My name is Paul Morris. I live at 7592 Pinehurst. For those of you who forgot who I am already. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for letting us speak.
Who are you again? Can you repeat that?
Well, I could be a original story if I wanted to be, but I'd have to grow my nose out a little bit. Anyhow, I'm here also to talk about the PUD. A couple things that at my last meeting that I attended. I gave council several things to think about. One was just because you can doesn't mean you should. And with that in mind, Councilman Wong brought up last at your committee of the whole meeting, that our forefathers actually had this right. They envisioned that whole corner down there being commercial or business, whatever you want to call it. They didn't want it as residential because they saw the value in that. And even if the mayor is lucky enough to get Mentor Beach Park and we could put a restaurant in there or whatever happens, doesn't mean you can't have two in that area. And the idea of, gee, we gotta have a 4-lane highway, I don't buy that either, because let's face it, Brennan's and Triple Bills doesn't have, they're lucky to have a 1-lane highway past their places in Grand River, and they do well. The other thing I've noted that on occasion, I think Michelle brought up about Councilwoman Moore brought up about commercial property. We don't wanna see another empty plaza down there. Well, I agree. However, I have seen in cases around the greater Cleveland area where they have demolished commercial places because they couldn't rent them and they became residential. Some of those areas occurred in Willoughby, some of them did in Mentor. However, you will never probably see a residential area be destroyed so that they can put up a commercial establishment. So with that, I would like to see the PUD not put in place down there so that we can look at this after the master plan is in place. The other thing that came up to my attention is currently the owners of that property are in arrears on some of their property tax by as many as 5 years in some of the parcels. One parcel, I think, if they paid up their taxes to date, they'd be about $14,000 short. So, and I haven't looked at all the property. That's just the property Jim Yeager consumed. The other thing is, the cleanup of the property, some of the comments that have been made by people here and both on Facebook and so forth, is we're tired of, and Mr. Lunder brought this up, we're tired of seeing that place look like that. Well, I got news for you. You folks all know that if that were your private residence, the city would force you to clean it up. I know that for a fact, because I know I've had several, properties that I've had to report to the city, and yes, they were cleaned up. So why isn't this happening to that property? Thirdly, I guess this is fifthly, is, I've come to make the conclusion that I don't totally trust the professionalism of the developer, the Summers Group. 3 times he was told, come to the planning and zoning, twice he was told, totally prepared. And Mr. Johnson, you too even said the same thing in an email, I believe. Yet, you folks got these beautiful, pretty notebooks. In it, this development was referred to as apartments, that at the last minute, just before your committee of the whole, you were given addendums to this. That doesn't show preparedness. That shows anything else but. So I really wonder, are they prepared to do this? Last thing I have to ask you folks is, I appreciate this gentleman wanting to do the thing up here where the Oasis was. I'd like to see the city work hard to keep our businesses in place and keep them happy. Like the Blystones, they would love to have that property next to them. One of these days, they're gonna say that hell with Menor Lake and they're gonna leave. I know Joe Jaros wanted the Burger King building, yet that was ignored. Instead, we're gonna get a Chipotle. I hope they do well. But meanwhile, Josiah would come up to you someday and say, guess what? I'm gonna move to Menor. Or I'm gonna move somewhere else. And he does a hell of a lot to support this community. Thank you, and I hope you reconsider this PUD. Have a great day. Happy birthday, Jeff.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Stan Pulaski, 7589 Slider Road. As the city of Menor Lake welcomes new people to come in and live here, I have a concern about providing adequate safety forces, police, fire, and service, the tax dollars needed to take care of new people coming into the city. I know when you have a commercial development, you could have visitors into the city, but when you have people living here, especially in a condo, and the way those condos are constructed, you may have elderly, you may have children, you could have quite a few people living there. And I know recently we had an issue on Salida a few weeks back where there was a fire. And I was told through a report by an eyewitness who was on site, is that it took 13 minutes for the fire department to get there. Now, I gotta believe that the city of Menor Lake and the fire department that they have is possibly all we could afford. And they're overwhelmed with EMS calls. I know the mayor, he gives a report, and most of the calls are EMS. As you have another structure with people, elderly people in there, you're gonna put a greater burden on that fire department. So you have to think that you will have ample safety forces to cover any new residential areas. And so right now, you have a vacant lot with an old building, whatever catches on fire would be a good place to have fire training for new cadets, etc. And right now, it's not a life hazard. Putting a structure there where people are living does become a life hazard and a great concern. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close this portion, open to the public to speak. Announcements and settings and meetings. Yes,
Make a couple comments.
it's your birthday, I guess you can. It's time.
There are 2 things that I heard today. That Anderson's is closing permanently. I heard that twice from 2 people. And the Rite Aid across the street over there in Menor is going to be turned into a car wash, and that was verified by Menor today also. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. That sounds like an announcement. That works under announcements and settings and meetings. Good job. Announcements and settings of meetings, public hearing on ordinance number 2023-0-25 is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The next regular agenda meeting will be on the.
I gotta set up a meeting.
That finished?
Usually that's the end.
Not necessarily, I forget sometimes. The regular agenda meeting will be held on Thursday, February 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Regular meeting of council will be on Tuesday, February 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And now we'll start scheduling some meetings.
Parks and Recs is scheduled. That board meeting is Thursday, day after tomorrow, January 25 at 6:30 p.m.
Parks and Rec, 6:30 on Thursday.
You still do this.
You go right ahead, whenever you're ready.
I need a utility meeting.
Monday, the 29th at 6:30.
Monday the 20th. Okay, Monday, it can be the 29th at 6:30.
Monday, the 29th, 6:30 p.m. Utility Committee.
I'm sorry, 6:30.
Yeah, 30.
Kevin, we need an ordinance committee.
About Tuesday.
The 30th,
Mhm.
okay. Time?
6:30.
So that's ordinance Tuesday, January 30 at 6:30.
Okay, ordinance, Tuesday, January 30th, 6:30 p.m.
Somebody check in the room.
Oh, yeah.
I have not.
I'll check the room for you guys.
For both, sorry.
You're good for, yeah, Monday and Thursday. I'm on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, I want to go ahead and schedule a committee of the whole meeting.
We do it in February.
Well, it's gonna be in February. It's because he's not gonna have the budget till the 6th. So I'm thinking either the week of the 12th or the 19th.
The 12th is kind of busy. That week. Charter Review Committee is the 12th. Sorry, did we mention that?
No, we don't have to.
Okay.
Because it's not till the next, we'll have another meeting.
All right.
No, we won't.
No.
Great, so Charter Review Commission is meeting on February 12th at 6 p.m.
I like Tuesday the 20th. You say Tuesday the 20th? Just throwing a date out. I mean, that's-
6:30.
Sure.
For what meeting is it?
Oh, it's the budget meeting. Can we do 6? It's gonna be a budget meeting. They don't tend to last, 30 minutes, so.
I know. I'll try.
6. I mean, otherwise we could go back to like Saturdays at 8 o'clock in the morning and go until 2, like we've done in the past, so. Just saying.
When they stopped bringing donuts, there was no more Saturday.
All right, so February 20th at 6 p.m. Does that work for you, Mayor?
Yes.
We have it on everybody's calendar to go forward. Any other meetings?
Do you wanna have a committee of development, if we have the ordinance?
That's the three of us, right? Kevin can do that.
Redevelopment after?
I mean, ordinance gonna be kind of
That's,
full.
we have too much in ordinance, there's no way we're.
Ordinance is pretty full.
There's
A lot to talk about.
I would hold off.
Three separate things. I'm gonna say it's probably a lot for one.
I should really.
Anything else? You wanna hold off or? Okay. Any other meetings? All right. Should be all the meetings.
Motion adjourned.
You're learning faster. I like that. He's trainable. Barely. Motion adjourned by Mr. Bittner, second by Ms. Wong. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson.
Aye.
Mrs. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.